Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be using Teckwrap Craft's Inkjet Printable Shrink Wrap. These are so neat and there's lots of ways you can use them. You can print with your regular home printer and you can either have the Cricut cut it out for you or you can just use scissors. You also can use markers, colored pencils, or colored powders to draw directly on the shrink wraps. They have white sheets, which is what I'll be using in this video, but they also have translucent and glow in the dark. The glow in the dark is not printable, however. In today's video, I'm going to make these into pens. I thought that would be super fun. Other ideas are ornaments, keychains, jewelry, charms. You can personalize these however you like. Here's the supplies that I'll be using. I'll use the shrink wrap. I also picked up pen backings and glue to glue those onto the pens. I have parchment paper that I'll be using with the sublimation oven. You can use an oven or a heat gun for this project, and I am going to test out both in this video and let you know my preferred process. I'm going to use UV resin to seal the pens. I believe there's other sealants that you can use, but I didn't get a chance to research it. I am someone who was nervous to get into UV resin, but I found a good option. The kind I bought is different than AB resin, where you need to mix it and it takes long curing time. This takes no prep and it cures quickly with UV light, so I have the UV light there. I'll grab a couple sheets out. On their website, it's really helpful because it shows for the white sheets, the print side is the matte side. You can easily tell the difference between the matte and here's the glossy. I'll load it into my printer. You'll want to know which way to load it. Mine is the glossy side up, even though it's printing on the matte side. Now I'll head over to my computer to show you how I put the pen designs together. First, I want to show you what 3 designs I'm using. I found them from Creative Fabrica. I thought this pumpkin with the bow was so cute, and then I chose 2 other ghost images that all 3 kind of looked similar. I thought this was adorable. I'll put links for all 3 of these down in the description box. I always highly recommend Creative Fabrica because they have such a great membership. So I'll put a link down below for that as well if you want to check it out. For their yearly membership, it's only $3.99 a month, which is insane to me because they have millions of SVGs, fonts, sublimation images, and things like that. What I want to do first with these before I bring them over into Cricut Design Space is I want to adjust the coloring of it. When I was researching shrink wrap, I noticed that when it shrunk, it kind of distorted the colors in the images, and I don't even know how to describe it. It looked dark, bolder. I don't know. It just did not look like these images. So I found a YouTube channel where she showed how she adjusted the colors in Canva to kind of adjust for that. I'll leave a link for her YouTube video down in my description box. It was super helpful, and I'll show you how I do this in Canva. First, I'll click on custom size. I'm going to select 8.5 by 11. I'll go over to my uploads. I've already uploaded these because I've played around with them, but I am just going to grab this first one. I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger to fit the page. Then what I'm going to do is I am going to go up to transparency and I am going to type in 50. It's kind of crazy how dull it looks, but once it shrinks down, it'll be the correct color. But I do need to go in and select edit. Then I am going to select adjust. I do want to make the contrast bigger. I'm using her exact numbers that she used. Like I said, I'll link her video down below. Then I'm also going to select 50 for saturation. I'm going to duplicate this page and just delete that. Now I'm going to add my ghosts. And then for this, I'm just going to do the exact same thing. Okay, I have all 3 of those done. I'm going to click on share. I'll click download. You can see the file type is PNG, and that's perfect for Print and Cut in Cricut Design Space. Then I'll just select download. I'm in Cricut Design Space now. I will upload all 3 of those. It brought it over to my downloads folder. I'm just going to select one. Now what I want to do is delete the background. Let me hit continue, and here's the screen where you can delete that. You can see the little plus sign with your mouse. I'm just going to select the background. You want to make sure you don't skip that step, otherwise it'll have a white box around it. Then I'll hit apply and continue. I'll select flat graphic, continue, and upload. I am going to do the exact same thing for the other two. Okay, I have my cute little images here. With this one, you can see that there's bats and stars around it. That is just not going to work very well for the pen. You want something that's just kind of will cut easy and it doesn't have all these little extra little pieces around it. So I'll show you how to get rid of that. I'm going to use the contour button. As you can see, it's grayed out right now. That's because it's set to a print and cut. All I have to do is select basic, which just makes it into a cut file. You can see the contour button appears. I can select hide all contours because I can see this top one is the one that I want. It always automatically keeps that top one. I'll hit the X. Then I'll go back to print and cut and it will save that image how it was before. Now you can see those are gone. This shrink wrap will shrink 46%, so I decided for my sizing I would do a little under 3 inches, so I'm going to do 2.8 inches. It makes this one a little bit too big compared to the other two, so I'm going to do 2.25 inches. I think that looks really good. I'll hit the make screen. I am going to make 2 of each, so I am going to select 2. It will bring it onto 2 different pages. It just doesn't quite fit. Then I'll hit continue, send to printer. This arrow with print and cut is new and I didn't even notice it when I was adding my paper to the Cricut. So I'm curious how it cuts with the accuracy. I need to look into that a little bit more. I'm going to turn off my bleed and use system dialog. I actually probably could keep my bleed on, but I just turned it off. Then I'll hit print. Under media and quality, I'm going to select best and then I'll hit print. The printer will print out my design and here's how it looks. For the cut setting, I'll select browse all material. I'm going to type in plastic. I'm going to use plastic packaging. I'll hit done and I am going to select more for my cut pressure. This paper is a little bit thicker, so I recommend using your purple strong grit mat. I'm using the off-brand Nakapa and that works so well. The Cricut will read the registration lines, then it will cut out the design. The cut setting that I chose for this just cut it so perfectly, so that's always exciting when that happens. I do recommend testing it like I'm doing here before you unload the mat, just to make sure that it cut it through really well. If it didn't, then you can just hit the start button and it will recut in the exact same spot. I'll remove that paper, then I'll have the printer print out my pumpkin design. The Cricut will follow the exact same process with cutting it out, and here's how these look. They are all so cute. The only thing is there was a little sliver of white on the bottom of these. I don't know if it's because I need to calibrate my machine. I'm not sure if that new arrow with print and cut was part of the problem. I probably could have turned the bleed on. I think they still look totally fine. I'm not going to redo them or anything. First, I'm going to use my sublimation oven. I set it to 320 degrees for 2 minutes. I place parchment paper down on my little tray, then I put my designs on top of that. The machine starts automatically counting down, so you have to place it in right away, but there's a fan inside, and as you can see, the parchment paper and all of it was just flying all over the place. Decided to place heat resistant tape on the paper, but I only put like 3 or 4 little pieces on there. So as you can see, when I placed it back in, it just picked it right up again. I probably needed more tape, but I decided just to go with it. As it started to shrink, I decided to open the oven back up and kind of move it around. I didn't want the pieces to get stuck together. You can see them start to fully shrink, which is just so fun. I forgot to mention, you do want to ventilate your space and wear a mask when doing these. I didn't notice a smell, but I was wearing my respirator mask. I decided just to throw that on, but you can just use a regular mask. Once they're done, you'll want to use something to flatten them out. I'm using my Easy Press. It's not on or anything. You just want something flat. But I kind of took my time taking these out of the oven and it didn't totally flatten. There's just a slight curve to them. So I recommend doing that quickly while they're still hot. For my other 3 sheets, I'm going to use a heat gun. I saw on Instagram somebody put it inside a tape roll and I thought that was super smart. On the website, it says to use the heat gun for 1 minute, so I set a timer, and here I'm starting to heat up the shrink wrap. I have it set to high, and you can see it immediately starts shrinking. After about 12 to 15 seconds, it totally shrunk down, but since the website said to do a minute, I just kept going, which obviously you can see it's totally done shrinking, so I don't know why I decided to do the full minute. But I definitely scorched it. I will show it to you here in just a minute. For the next one, I set my heat gun to the lower setting, and I just did it until it shrunk, and it ended up being about 15 seconds. I used my pen tool to kind of guide it, which worked well until I realized that it melted a little bit on my pen tool. I was so sad since it's my favorite one. So just learn from my mistakes, maybe try something different. As soon as it was done, I used my easy press to make sure I flattened it out, and that worked really well. After trying the oven and the heat gun, I would definitely recommend the heat gun. I just felt like it was so much easier. I'm sure each heat gun is different. This one's a pretty heavy duty one, so you might have to do closer to a minute with yours. I would just say do it until you notice it just completely shrink and then stop. Here's the one on the right that I for sure overheated, so you can see I basically scorched it. And then the one on the left is the other one, and it just looks perfect. I noticed for these there were some little black specks on it. I don't know if it was setting it on my mat, but it might have been a little bit dirty, so I'm not sure. Here's what these look like from my phone now that they've shrunk down. Look how cute they are. You can also see that the color is just perfect. Here's a before and after look at the color. Now I'm ready to add my resin. Even though it says toxic free on the front, it does say on the side to ventilate and use gloves and glasses. I used a respirator mask as well. I put a little amount on the pen, then I used a toothpick to spread it out around it. I kind of struggled to make sure that I had it even and totally covering it. If anybody uses UV resin a lot, what is your trick for spreading it around onto whatever you're putting it on? Once that was done, I placed it underneath my UV light, and on the box it says you need to do that for just 2 to 4 minutes. Then I followed the same process for the other two ghosts. So I placed all three for about 2 to 4 minutes. I felt like when it was done, it was still a little sticky, like it hadn't completely hardened yet. I put them back under it for another 1 to 2 minutes. Then I decided just to place it on my desk by a window so the sun can finish curing it. I had finished my workday, so this is the next couple days, and I'm ready to glue on the pen backings. I'm using the E6000 glue. You have to be super careful with this. There's warnings all over it, but I just wanted something super durable. People that use resin a lot, can you use the resin to attach the pen backings? This glue is nice because it comes with a precision tip, so I just glued a little spot on and put those pen backings on. Here's how these pens turned out. I think they are so adorable. I would also highly recommend the Printable Shrink Wrap. It is so fun, even cooler than I thought it was going to be. There's so many fun things you can do with these pins. You can add them to tote bags or backpacks. You can collect them. You can add them to lanyards, cork boards. You can use them for like branding, like brand promotion. I also decided to add it to my jean jacket, and look how cute it looks. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will have all the links down for the products in my description box, and I would also love it if you subscribed if you are new.